If you guys are frequently in touch with IT candidates, I've got a great exercise for you. This is what I'm usually doing with some of my students, fellow recruiters, talent acquisition specialists, headhunters, talent hunters during webinars or seminars, on-site seminars. We usually look at a mind map with the IT professionals. So this is a high-level mind map where you can see the IT roles, and I've prepared this exercise also for you guys who are watching this video. You can download this mind map, and not just this one, but also the following mind maps that are part of this tiny little booklet. So looking at the high-level mind map, you can see software developers, you can also see analysts, you can see architects. So who are the IT professionals on a really high level? And there are some standard roles in IT, even though it may feel overwhelming if you haven't worked in IT for several years, because sometimes some of these roles are labeled as backend developer or software engineer or Java developer or Java engineer, right? But this is in fact the same person. A backend developer is a software engineer, and he or she is also a Java programmer, right? So all these are just synonyms. So what these mind maps helps you with is to understand on a really high level what are the categories of IT roles. You can see testing and QA specialists, you can see IT managers and executives, and then we dive deeper, which will also be a part of this exercise, so I hope you are equally excited about this as I am. You can see support specialists here, you can see DevOps engineers, so cloud roles and infrastructure, okay? So now, as a part of this exercise, you can see the step one. The step one is to look at the high-level categorization below. If you don't have this mind map yet, well then just download the PDF. It's free, no charge. This is one of the free materials that we provide for our students during the webinars, seminars. So go ahead, download this PDF and look at the high-level mind map. And then the second page includes a blind map. So probably you guys remember also in I don't know, the geography back then when we were at school, we also had a blind map, and we were supposed to find, I don't know, Lisbon or I don't know, whatever other not as well-known city in Europe or in Asia or wherever. So now the same happens with this mind map. What you can do right now is to try to fill in the blanks. So print it out and fill in the blanks. Who are software developers? What categories, what subcategories can we recognize within this group? Within the group of software developers, obviously there are backend developers and front-end developers, full-stack developers, and then we will go a step further. What about analysts? For example, business analysts, right? Or system analysts. What about IT managers and executives? For example, VP of engineering or a CTO. By the way, I used to be a CTO when I was living in Thailand. It was great fun, which also helped me to be in touch frequently with developers and see what do they also struggle with in terms of recruitment and getting a new job or interacting with recruiters or getting better career opportunities. So that's also why we have started training fellow recruiters on how to interact with software developers on a more professional level. Okay, so moving on from IT managers, executives to data and BI specialists. Back then, I don't know, like 15 years ago, I also used to be a business intelligence specialist. I used to work as a data engineer in a data warehouse environment. So again, one of these roles here. So think about it for a while. What are some of the roles that you could see fitting in this category? What about cloud specialists? What about support specialists? Say first level support, second level technical support, IT support specialists, okay? So this is important for you guys to go through, because by filling in the blanks, you also are encouraged to think for a while and then, you know, put it on a paper. If you don't know, which could happen, obviously, if you haven't been working for 10 years in IT, it's sort of natural that you may not know at first. And that's why there is the third page with this mind map. So you can see the mind map with detailed information. And here we have web developers who use, for example, website builders or content management systems. You can see front-end developers who use some of those front-end frameworks such as React, Vue.js. And now this gets really interesting because as soon as you start recognizing these roles, you realize they use some of the programming languages or frameworks or tools that are specific for a particular purpose. So as an example was the front-end development, right? So next time you meet or are calling React.js developer, you know that he or she is a front-end developer, right? You know, on this level, it gets really easy eventually. So you start focusing on what really matters for these roles and professionals. Same with backend developers. A backend developer is also called a software engineer, software developer, programmer. And then based on what programming language they use, we can categorize them a little further to PHP backend developer or Java backend developer or Ruby developer, right? So Ruby is used, Ruby as a programming language, and then Ruby on Rails as a framework. You can also probably see it here. Oh yeah, it's here, Ruby on Rails framework is also used on the backend to create websites. So as soon as you go through this exercise, these things will become really easy. You will recognize some roles, for example, software architects. They also use some tools on a daily basis. And as soon as you start noticing patterns, boom, recruitment, headhunting gets easier. So this is what we usually practice with fellow recruiters during our webinars and seminars. There is obviously much more to this because, you know, this is just the beginning. As soon as you have this knowledge, you know how to extract some information from a job description. As an example, I'm now looking at this job description of a full-stack Java software engineer. So you could then practice, and this is also what we do during our webinars and web classes. You can start analyzing the job requirement and identifying what really matters. So you know that, for example, for the full stack engineers, full stack developers, you should look at the backend programming language and the front-end framework and also the storage system. And that's pretty much it, right? Most of the information that is listed in a job description is just fluff. So what we usually practice with talent acquisition specialists and even with salespeople who are supposed to talk to hiring managers, we practice how to recognize what is most important in a common job description. And we usually circle those important elements and we practice what to ask the hiring manager, what to ask a candidate during a screening call. So after a few exercises like this, recruitment gets really easy because you know what to focus on, you know what is important for hiring managers and what is important for candidates. So having said that, I can only encourage you guys to practice with these mind maps. You can download this for free on our website. There is probably a link somewhere below this video or next to the video or above the video, wherever you guys watch it. And there is obviously more material, more training, more follow-up courses that I and my colleagues have created based on our interactions with fellow recruiters in IT. So we also specialize only on IT recruitment, IT headhunting. That's also the area I'm super passionate about because I used to be a software developer, an IT consultant, a CTO. So I've been sitting on both sides of the table, which is also why I have created another materials like this booklet with lots of other mind maps. So this is just at the beginning, and we have created lots of other materials which I also use when I'm headhunting for my clients, because I cannot really remember all these languages and frameworks and tools even after over 15 years working in IT. So if you are frustrated that you don't know IT yet after a year, well then don't worry, because I also don't recall all the information despite me working for 15 years in IT, despite me creating all these mind maps. Like, think how crazy this is. I've created all these mind maps and I don't remember it. And the truth is that I cannot really remember it because there is just so much of it, right? And that's the reason why I keep these mind maps on my desk. So whenever I'm on a call with a hiring manager or with a candidate, I just open it up. For example, on page, I don't know, on page 15, there is a deep dive to JavaScript. So you can probably see on your screen a deep dive to JavaScript landscape, JavaScript software development landscape. The JavaScript could be used for different purposes, and what framework is used for what, and how to recognize a JavaScript senior and junior developer based on some of the tools that they use. So this is what we've been working on for the last year or so. The feedback from fellow recruiters has been great. They find it super helpful. So maybe at some point you can also order it and we can ship it to your office. Like in this wonderful brochure, this catalog of all these almost 30 mind maps. So this is just the beginning. If you haven't been working in IT for extended time period, you can also appreciate some of our training sessions. So I usually organize this training for groups of recruiters, independent headhunters, IT recruitment consultants, even salespeople who are talking to IT candidates. So you can go to training.geekrecruiters.com and you can enroll in one of my classes. Those are usually organized in 3 consecutive days. Every day we have a class that is about 3 hours long, and it's great fun usually. Usually we talk about not just this is just the beginning, but we talk about job descriptions, how to analyze the job requirement properly, how to extract some meaningful information, how to talk to IT candidates with confidence eventually, because you know what to ask. You know what programming languages or frameworks there are. So I was just talking to a fellow recruiter recently, and she said that she's super happy about some of the materials because now she sees there is an end to it. It's not like a huge pool of fluff anymore, but rather something that has an end, and she knows that as soon as she studies this list of acronyms and lists of frameworks and lists of languages and etc., then she will pretty much do better than 95% of all the recruiters out there. So if you also would like to level up your recruitment skills, you can enroll to some of my classes, online courses. You can just go to geekrecruiters.com and you will find everything there. These materials, some of our t-shirts also, or some hoodies now because it's getting cold out there here in Europe. You can also enroll to the training that I organize. Actually, the next training is going to happen in November, on November 10, 11, and 12, if I recall correctly. So you can also join that one. So with that, I'll wrap it up. Download this mind map if you have not yet, and then if you would find it helpful, get this booklet with additional 25 over 25 mind maps that go a little deeper to C# development or JavaScript development landscape, Java landscape, and all these areas that probably you've heard about for the last year or so. Okay, so with that, I'm wrapping it up. I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone.